The world's largest furniture retailer was not born in a boardroom. It was not backed by investors or launched with a business plan written by consultants. The company that has put a bed in more bedrooms, a shelf on more walls, and a dining table in more homes than any other business in human history was started by a 17-year-old boy in a shed in a village in rural Sweden that most people have never heard of. You would think a teenage boy with dyslexia, no money, no connections, and no resources beyond a bicycle and a burning need to sell things could never build a retail empire operating in 60 countries and generating $50 billion a year, right? Well, Ingvar Kamprad founded IKEA in 1943 from a shed on his family farm in Agunnaryd, Sweden. He would go on to build the most visited retail brand on earth, a company so embedded in daily life that its blue and yellow warehouses have become landmarks from Mumbai to Melbourne to Minneapolis. He would do it by making one radical and deeply unfashionable decision: that beautiful things should be affordable for everyone, not just the wealthy, everyone. So how did a boy from the forests of Sweden build the empire that furnished the modern world? To find out, we go back to 1926, Småland, a region in southern Sweden, heavily forested with thin rocky soil and hard winters. The people of Småland had a reputation throughout Sweden for being stubborn, frugal, and relentlessly resourceful. When the land would not give you what you needed, you found another way. You never wasted anything. On March 30th, 1926, Ingvar Kamprad was born on a farm called Outsmarted, near the village of Agunnaryd. His father was a farmer. The family was not wealthy, but it was a place where people understood at a cellular level that value mattered and waste was a sin. Kamprad struggled in school. Dyslexia made reading difficult. Conventional academic achievement was not going to be his path, but selling came naturally. At the age of 5, he bought a box of matches in bulk from his aunt in Stockholm, cycled around his neighborhood, and sold them individually to neighbors at a markup. He was 5 years old and had already grasped the fundamental principle of retail commerce: buy in volume, sell at margin, repeat. By 10, he had expanded to fish, Christmas decorations, seeds, and pencils. His bicycle was his distribution network. His shed was his warehouse. This was not a hobby. This was practice. In 1943, Kamprad's father gave him a small sum of money as a reward for his studies. Another family might have spent it on something ordinary. Ingvar Kamprad used it to register a company. He called it IKEA, 4 letters built from his own initials, the name of his family farm, and the name of his village, a name rooted in the exact soil he came from. IKEA's first products had nothing to do with furniture. Pens, wallets, picture frames, nylon stockings, anything that could be sourced cheaply and delivered by the local milk van. It was a mail-order business, an early version of e-commerce, 50 years before the internet existed. Then in 1948, Kamprad added furniture to the catalogue, and everything changed. The Swedish furniture market was controlled by a cartel. A small group of manufacturers kept prices high and access limited. Furniture was expensive, and the industry intended to keep it that way. Kamprad saw the cartel and saw an opportunity. He began sourcing furniture from small local manufacturers in Småland who sat outside the cartel's control. Costs were dramatically lower. Quality was comparable. By selling directly through his catalog, he passed every saving straight to the customer. The cartel responded by pressuring suppliers not to work with IKEA. They lobbied trade shows to ban him from exhibiting. They used every tool available to crush this teenager from a shed. Kamprad responded the way people from Småland always respond to obstacles. He found another way. Blocked from trade shows, he opened a showroom in Outsmarted in 1953 and invited customers to come directly. Customers traveled hundreds of kilometers. They had never seen affordable furniture of this quality displayed in a way that let them touch it and experience it before buying. In 1958, he opened the first true IKEA store in Outsmarted, the largest furniture showroom in Scandinavia. The cafeteria came almost by accident. Customers were traveling so far, they needed somewhere to eat. The Swedish meatballs that would become as iconic as the flat-pack furniture were born from the simple problem of hungry customers who had driven a long way to get there. But the most revolutionary idea was still to come. A designer working with IKEA named Gillis Lundgren was trying to fit a table into the back of a car for transport. It did not fit assembled. In frustration, he removed the legs. The table fit. Lundgren stared at the disassembled table and had the thought that would change furniture retail forever. What if the furniture was always sold this way? Designed from the beginning to be flat, stackable, shippable in a box, and assembled by the customer at home. The cost savings were extraordinary. Flat-pack furniture took a fraction of the warehouse space. It was dramatically cheaper to ship, less likely to be damaged in transit, and it could be sold at prices that made every previous furniture price point look absurd. The customer did the assembly. That was the trade-off. And Kamprad understood with absolute clarity that his customers would accept that trade-off enthusiastically if the price was right. He was correct. Through the 1960s and 1970s, IKEA expanded across Scandinavia and into Europe. Every new market confirmed the same truth. The appetite for affordable, well-designed furniture was universal. The iconic IKEA catalogue became one of the most widely distributed publications in the world. At its peak, more copies were printed each year than the Bible. It was not just a product catalogue. It was a vision of how any home could look, accessible to anyone regardless of income. The product naming system, every product named after a Scandinavian place or concept, was born from Kamprad's dyslexia. Numbers were harder to track than words. The personal accommodation he made for his own condition became one of the most recognizable brand identities on Earth. But IKEA's story was not without darkness. In 1994, it was revealed that Kamprad had been a member of a pro-Nazi organization in Sweden during the 1940s when he was a young man. He issued a public apology, calling it the greatest mistake of his life. The episode was a reminder that the origin stories of great companies are human stories, and human stories contain failure alongside achievement. Ingvar Kamprad died in January 2018 at the age of 91. He flew economy class until the end. He drove an old Volvo. He bought his clothes at flea markets. He ate lunch at IKEA cafeterias where staff meals were subsidized. The man who built a $50 billion empire lived like the Småland farmer's son he always was. The frugality was not performance. It was the same philosophy that had driven every decision since the moment he bought his first box of matches at age 5. Value matters. Waste is wrong. Good things should be affordable for everyone. That philosophy, born in a shed in the forests of Sweden, now sits in the living rooms of hundreds of millions of homes on every continent on Earth. Today, someone somewhere is sitting on the floor of a new apartment, surrounded by wooden pieces and an Allen key, and instructions that contain no words, building something that started as a dream in a shed in Agunnaryd. Ingvar Kamprad did not just build a furniture company, he built a philosophy, and he put it in a flat pack box. That is what the boy from the shed gave the world: a better home for everyone.